October 1962. The world trembled on the very brink of nuclear war. Death and destruction on a scale unknown in the history of mankind. Cold War superpowers confronted each other over Cuba, how the world held its breath. For several months, the Soviet Union has been setting up nuclear missile sites in Cuba. Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev felt his country was threatened by US missiles and troops based in allied countries like Turkey, Italy, and the United Kingdom. He wants to give the US a taste of its own medicine, to throw a hedgehog at Uncle Sam's pants. Cuba had survived one attempted invasion. US-backed Cuban exiles had tried to topple the communist government of Fidel Castro. The missiles would deter another invasion. Once in place, nuclear missiles could reach almost every US city. They had been installed in complete secrecy. So far. A US spy plane photographed missile sites under construction. Now, the Americans know. US President Kennedy sets up XCOM to deal with the crisis. Should the US bomb the sites now? Would the Soviets retaliate? The Pentagon is convinced bombing is impractical. The missiles must be removed from Cuba. But how? XCOM considers another option. Set up a naval blockade around Cuba to stop all Soviet ships delivering missiles. This would virtually be an act of war. Kennedy decides to tell the world about a matter of highest national security. He opts for the blockade, but calls it quarantine to seem less aggressive.
To halt this offensive buildup, a strict quarantine on all offensive military equipment under shipment to Cuba is being initiated. All ships of any kind bound for Cuba, from whatever nation or port, will, if found to contain cargoes of offensive weapons, be turned back.
Shortly after the President's speech tonight, the Defense Department said it would begin almost immediately to search and sink, if necessary, the ships of any nation carrying offensive weapons to Cuba.
The Soviets still fear that an invasion of Cuba is imminent. Khrushchev has secretly authorized the use of battlefield nuclear weapons in Cuba.
The feeling here is that we have a long way to go before we're out of the woods.
Aerial photographs confirm that missiles are being prepared for launching.
By the end of last week, the evidence was startling. At one Mobile launching site, where there had been only a fuel truck or two, there were now the launchers, the trailers, the tents for Soviet personnel, and the missiles themselves. At the fixed launching sites, where there had been only strips of denuded ground, there were now the telltale signs of bunker positions and the cable runways between bunker and site.
Our reports from our correspondents is that there is not a great deal of reason for optimism tonight.
I have taken the necessary steps to deploy our forces to be in a position to make effective the quarantine at 2 p.m. tomorrow Greenwich time. That will be the equivalent of 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
The Soviet ship, Alexandrovsk, beats the blockade by a few hours and docks in Cuba. Its cargo, 24 nuclear warheads. On the high seas, most of the Russian ships approaching Cuba stop, then turn back. For the only time during the entire period of the Cold War, US military readiness goes to DEFCON 2, just one step from outright war.
A Latin American delegate told CBS News this evening, "We are now in the most dangerous situation since the end of World War II. The next 48 hours will be decisive.
In the United Nations, Adlai Stevenson confronts the Soviet representative with evidence of offensive weapons in Cuba.
Let me ask you one simple question. Do you, Ambassador Doran, deny that the USSR has placed and is placing medium and intermediate range missiles and sights in Cuba? Yes or no? I'm prepared to wait for my answer until hell freezes over, if that's your decision.
Even if the blockade works, what about the missiles already in Cuba? The US reconsiders plans for invasion. A letter from Khrushchev. The Soviets will dismantle the missiles if the US promises never to invade. President Kennedy's brother, Bobby, meets Dobrynin, the Russian ambassador, who now says there can be no deal without missiles in Turkey also being withdrawn. Bobby telephones President Kennedy, and this is more or less agreed. Another message from Khrushchev, this time demanding the withdrawal of the missiles in Turkey. Several ex-com members who have no knowledge of the Kennedys' direct negotiations are outraged. They recommend immediate bombing of Cuba. A U-2 spy plane is brought down over Cuba by a Soviet SAM missile, killing the pilot. Low-level reconnaissance aircraft are shot at by Cuban anti-aircraft guns. The situation is starting to spin out of control. Bobby Kennedy desperately tells the Soviet ambassador the US military are spoiling for a fight. The US have to bomb if the missiles are not removed. He agrees to the removal of Turkish missiles, but this must remain a secret. The US government would fall if it seemed to be surrendering to Soviet demands. Every nation looks on in fear. Is it to be peace or the most horrifying war imaginable?
Well, that some action should be taken, but he's going to have to tread very lightly, short of war.
Nikita Khrushchev today did